Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so this is the Vuttodaya text. We finished the first chapter of Vuttodaya, Sanya Paribhasa Niddesa, and last week we finished the second chapter also, which is Matta Vutti Niddesa. Matta Vutti Niddesa. So we have learned that there are two types of meters in Vuttodaya, Matta Vutti and Vanna Vutti. So today we have to start Vanna Vutti, right? Because we finished Matta Vutti. Matta Vutti, all the Matta Vutti meters are presented in the second chapter. So there are 4 kinds of Matta Vutti meters. They are namely Ariya, Giti, Vetaliya, and Matta Samaka. There are 4 types of Matta Vutti meters. And at the end there was a verse for calculations. So today we are going to start this third chapter, Samavutti Niddesa, Tatiya Paricheda, third chapter, Samavutti Niddesa. So before going there, do you have any questions about previous discussions? No questions? Hello, am I audible?
Yes, no question.
Okay. Then, yeah, then let's move to today's class. So we have to start from Samavutti Niddesa. So there are 3 types of Vannavutti meters, right? Samavutti, Adda Samavutti, and Visamavutti. There are 3 types. So we learned that Samavutti meters are the meters which have similar lines. Sama means similar, right? Sama means similar. So here similar refers to similar lines. Samavutti, Vutta means meter or a verse. So the chapter which has the verses with similar lines is called as Samavutti. So it is the third chapter. So we are going to start it today, and then we will learn Adda Samavutti Niddesa, 4th chapter, Adda Sama, half similar, right? Half similar lines. That means first line and third line are same, and second line is same with 4th line, Adda Sama. And then the 5th chapter is Visamavutti, like dissimilar line meters. So those are the 3 chapters about Vannavutti meters. Okay. Here is Samavutti Niddesa. In the book we are usually referring to the description of the similar line meters. Niddesa is description, right? Samavutta, similar line meter. So here it is mentioned as Samavutta, but in a text we can say Samavutti. So there is not a huge difference between them. Samavutta or Samavutti, you can use both. The description of the similar line meters. So the first meter we are going to talk about is Tanumajja. Tanumajja is the name of the meter. So what is this Gayati? Gayati, 6 syllables. What is this? Gayati, 6 syllables. This is the generic name. Like for each verse in Samavutti Niddesa are included in a specific type, specific group of meters. So like all the meters with 6 syllables in each line are named as Gayati meters. Also in Pāļi, it is Gayati Chanda. So Chanda here refers to the generic name, not prosody and not Sanskrit language. Here Chanda refers to the generic name. So Gayati Chanda means the the group of meters, which is called as Gayati. So all the verses included in this group have 6 syllables in each line. So after this, we will move to Unhi. Unhi. So Unhi is also a generic name, and that is the name for the group which include verses with 7 syllables in each line. Like each line of the verse is composed with 7 syllables. So that group is called as Unhi, Unhi or Unhika according to the Myanmar text. So that is about this name Gayati, 6 syllables. So we are going to study now about 6 syllable verses. So another thing to focus here is that in the previous chapter, Matta Vuttodaya, we dealt with measures, right? Moras. We did all the things with moras, like we count the mora count, like measure count, right? How many measures are there? 30 measures or 27 measures, like that. And in groups also, when we formed the groups, in groups also we focused on the measures, like a group is created by 4 measures, right? So we all the things we did was related to measures, but here it is different. Here we are dealing with syllables, not measures. Okay, here we are dealing with syllables, not measures. So that's why here also it's mentioned as 6 syllables. 6 syllables, right? 6 syllables, not 6 measures. Okay, not 6 measures, just 6 syllables. That is something to focus on here. Another thing is that about the groups. So we in the previous chapter we focused on 5 groups, right? There are 8 groups, but we focus on 5 groups: Bhaja, Sa, Sabba, Galahu, Bhagana, Jagana, Sagana, Nagana, and Magana. So other groups were not frequently seen. Yagana and Ragana also could be seen in like Vetaliya Jati and Matta Samaga Jati, but Thagana was not seen at all. So here in these chapters, in Samavutti chapters, all the eight groups can be observed. Okay, all the 8 groups can be observed, and groups are also not same as the previous chapter, because we know that in the previous chapter, like Nagana and Magana were different, right? Nagana and Magana. In Nagana, there were 4 syllables, because we needed 4 measures to form a group, right? We needed 4 measures to form a group. So we added 1 more syllable at the end, and then Nagana was formed. There were 4 short syllables in Nagana. And in Magana, what happened was, usually Magana should have 3 syllables, right? Garu, Garu, Garu. It is the Magana. But in the previous chapter, we excluded 1 syllable, one heavy syllable from that group, and we only had 2 syllables in Magana, like Garu, Garu, because we needed 4 measures to form Magana in the previous chapter, right? Because in that whole chapter we dealt with groups which have 4 measures in each. So here in these chapters, in these coming chapters, those things are completely different, because we are dealing here with the usual groups, not the groups we were dealing with in the previous chapter. So Nagana has 3 syllables, not 4 syllables. Okay, Nagana has 3 syllables: Lahu, 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 light, light, light. And Magana also has 3 syllables: Garu, 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 heavy, heavy, heavy. So there are if you count all the measures, there will be 6 measures in Magana, right? Garu, 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 2, 2, 2. There are 6 measures, but that's not a problem for these coming chapters, because we are not dealing with 4 measures, but we need only we need 3 syllables to form a group, not 4 measures. Is that clear for you? We don't need 4 measures to form a group. We need only 3 syllables, no matter how many measures are there. Just 3 syllables are needed to form a group. So that is also an important point. So now we are moving to the first verse. It is Tanumajja. Tanumajja is the name of the verse, Tanumajja, and it is included in the group Gayati Chanda, included in Gayati Chanda. So let me recite the verse. Tyache Tanumajja. That is the verse. Tyache Tanumajja. Only one line. Tyache Tanumajja. So you can observe there are 6 syllables in this line. Tya, right? Tya is 1 syllable. Tya, che, 2, ta, 3, nu, 4, maj, 5, jha, 6, right? There are 6 syllables in this line. So you have to repeat this line 4 times to compose the verse, because this is Samavutti. All the 4 lines should be similar. All the 4 lines should be similar. This is Samavutti. So you have to repeat this line 4 times. That is Tanumajja verse. So the meaning is Tya che Tanumajja. Che, if let's read. If there is Tagana and Yagana, then it is named as Tanumajja. Che, if Tya, Tagana and Yagana, right? This is in plural. T and Y are like joined by a compound. This is a samasa, Tagana and Yagana, Tya. So yeah, something like Tocha, Yocha, Tya, right? So it is in plural, Tya, Tagana and Yagana. If Tagana and Yagana are there, like you can add something like Honti or Bhavanti, Che Honti or Che Bhavanti. If there are Tagana and Yagana, then that verse is called as Tanumajja. So you see in Tagana also there are 3 syllables, and Yagana also there are 3 syllables, right? So when you add those together, then there are 6 syllables. So let's check it for those rules. Tya is heavy, right? Heavy. It's a heavy syllable. Che, heavy syllable. Ta, light syllable. Heavy, heavy, light. This is Tagana. This is Tagana. Heavy, heavy, light, Tagana. And then Nu, light, Maj, heavy, Jha, heavy. Light, heavy, heavy. Light, heavy, heavy is Yagana, right? So here Tagana and Yagana are there in this line. So you have to repeat this 4 times. Tagana, Yagana, Tagana, Yagana, Tagana, Yagana. Other 3 lines should be there. Then it is called as Tanumajja verse. So this is also an important point by Bhante Ananda Jyoti. Many of the meters in this section do not seem to have occurred in the literature outside of texts written specifically to illustrate them. That means in this section, in this Samavutti, and also in Adda Samavutti also, Adda Samavutti, the verses shown here are not actually seen in the literature. They like most of them are seen in the literature which is specifically illustrate them. That means like there are some texts which are written according to Vuttodaya, like there is Namakkara Patha and Mahapanama Patha. So those works are done according to Vuttodaya, like they are composing verses to pay homage to Lord Buddha or to explain his qualities by using the verses presented in Vuttodaya. So in those texts you can observe examples for these verses, but real, like But in real literature, in Pāli canon or in commentaries or sub-commentaries, most of these verses are not seen. You cannot find examples for most of these verses. So here in the fourth line, you can see examples. Mahapanama Pāṭha, Namakkara Pāli and Vuttodaya Tīkā. So Mahapanama Pāṭha, Namakkara Pāli, both are written in Myanmar, as from my knowledge. Namakkara Pāli, in Pāok, they recite Namakkara Pāli, right? In the evening, they recite Namakkara Pāli. So Mahapanama Pāṭha also is like that, a text like that. And Vuttodaya Tīkā is the sub-commentary for Vuttodaya. So in these three texts, you can find examples for most of these verses presented in this Vuttodaya chapter. So yeah, so here is an example for Tanumajja verse from Mahapanama Pāṭha. Mahapanama Pāṭha. Hittva karupetang mokkhaṃ panidhanam vattesi dayana yotang muni vande. So by this verse, the author is paying homage to Lord Buddha. So let's check for the rules here. First actually you have to first check for the syllable count in the verses in Mattavutti verses. You have to count the syllables first when you find a new verse. So in this verse, hittva karupetang, you see, hit is one syllable, va two syllables, ka 3, ru 4, pe 5, tang 6. You see, there are 6 syllables. So after counting the syllables, you can assume, or you can know in which group is this verse included. Then you can go to that group and find for this, search for this verse, right? So first, when you find a new verse, you have to count how many syllables are there in each line.
Excuse me, Bante.
Yes.
For example, in the Mahanamakara Pāli, for example, Sugatang, Setang, Kusalang, Jahang, I didn't see it the same as this rule.
Sugatang, Setang, right?
Yes. How can we analyze in this rule?
Did you look for it in the it has how many syllables? Sugatang, Setang, 8 syllables, right? So did you check it in the 8 syllable group?
Because here this mentioned that it refers to though. It means there's it just happened in some verse in it means because I call this Sugatang, Setang, Kusalang, Jahang. It doesn't matter. It is true.
Actually, it is it is not Samavutti. That verse is not Samavutti. It is a 8 syllable verse, but it is you have to search for it in Visamavutti. It is not still 8 syllable verse are in 2 places. In Samavutti, in this chapter we are now learning, there are 8 syllable verses, and in Visamavutti also, that means the 5th chapter. In the 5th chapter also, there are 8 syllable verses. So the Sugatang Setang is from that chapter. It is a Visamavutta. Actually, it's a Pathyavatta verse. Some of you already know it. So that's it. Yeah.
So Bande.
Yes.
In this verse, when we see Diaje Tanumajja, so in this verse, they didn't mention the Takana has to be in the beginning of the place and the Yakana follows. But how about if we change the Ta and Ya? If we take the Ya in the first group and the Ta in the second place, so they are still belong to the Tanumajja. or not?
No. If you do that, then it is not Tanumajja. Actually, you have to take them in order that is presented in the sutra. So Tanumajja is only if Tagana and Yagana are there in order. Yagana after Tagana. If Yagana and then Tagana is there, then it is another verse. It is not Tanumajja.
Okay. And also in this example, for example, if they didn't put the Mokang Panidana in the second line, if they follow after the Karubetang, if they put all in the same line, how can we differentiate this? They belong to the Tanumajja.
Like you form one line out of the first two lines, right?
Yes.
If you do like that, then there will be 12 syllables in one line. Then you can check it in the 12 syllable verses. 12 syllable verses. If there is such a verse in 12 syllable verses, then we can consider this as that verse, but still there is a problem, because then there are only 2 lines in this verse, right? So we have to add 2 more lines at the end, right?
Yes, Pandit. And my next question is, first they have a name of Gayatri, and after that come to the name Darumajja.
Yes.
So here under the 6 syllables, we have only one type, right?
Yes.
So why they make 2 lanes? They can directly say this is a Darumajja, so we know, or this is a 6 syllables. Because
that is, yeah. Yes.
Because like alu stew and like alu tubang, the 8 syllables, under the 8 syllables there are different groups that we know. So, but in these 6 syllables and 7 syllables, they have only one type.
Yeah.
So
that is because, as for my knowledge, in Sanskrit there are more verses in every group. Like in Gayatri, 6 syllable verses, there are many verses in Sanskrit. In 7 syllable verses also, there are many verses in Sanskrit. So the group names are already given in Sanskrit, like in Sanskrit prosody. So we take those names and present here, and we only take one, like, or the other Venerable Sangharakkhita has only take one verse as like one verse from each group. Tanumajja for Gayatri and what is the other one? Kumar Lalita for Unhi. But in Sanskrit there are more verses in each group. So you have to show the group name of another reason is that in every group, like there, how to say that, like every verse has a name for itself, and every verse is included in a group, right? So there is a group name also. So in 8 group, 9 group and all, there are names for each verse, and there is a specific name for the group they are included in. So here also it's something which should be done according to the coming groups. There is a name for the verse, and there should be a group which it includes in. So in that way also we can assume, but as for my knowledge, there are more verses in the 6 syllable meters and 7 syllable meters in Sanskrit prosody.
Okay, thank you, Pandit.
Okay, so yeah, we were talking about this verse, right? Hitva karopetang mokkang panidhana vattesi dayana yotang muni vande. So each line there are 6 syllables, and each line Thagana and Yagana, they are in order. So we check the first line, right? Hitva ka is Thagana, rupetang Yagana, tang pa Thagana, Nidhanang is Yagana, Vattesi Thagana, Dayana is Yagana, Yotang mu Thagana, Ni Vande is Yagana. So Tagani Aganadya in each group. So you can observe that every characteristic of each line are same. 4 lines are same in every aspect. So that is why we call them Samavutti or Samavutta. Okay, let's go to the next group and next verse. It is Unhi. Yes.
Yeah, I have a question about the line break. So here,
Yes.
between we can break the first and the second lines in the middle of a long word, right, Bante?
Yes, of course. We can break it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Bante.
Okay, this is Unhi, 7-syllable verses. So here also Unhi is the generic name, the name of the group. And Kumara Lalita is the name of the verse. This verse shown here. So here Unhi is actually mentioned in the text, actually in the Burmese version. It's Unhi Ka, not Unhi. Unhi Ka. So Unhi is there. Unhi, like in long form. Unhi is also there. And in Burmese version, it is Unhi Ka. Unhi Ka. There are three versions of this name. Kumara Lalita. Kumara Lalitaj's Ga. Kumara Lalitaj's Ga. It's difficult to read actually, but it's like this. Kumara Lalitaj. You have to read it. Joining with the previous vowel, Kumar Lalitaj, and then Sga comes. Kumar Lalitaj Sga, Kumar Lalitaj Sga. Actually, in Burma, they read this as Kumar Lalita Jasaga, because it's very difficult to read consonants without vowels. They read them with a vowel sound. Jasaga, but then it is not actually correct because there is no vowel with those consonants. Only consonant sounds are there. So try to recite this as like Kumar Lalita Ga. But if it is difficult for you, then it's okay to read according to the Myanmar way. Kumar Lalita Jasaga or Kumar Lalita Jasaga with a vowel sound. So Jasaga or Jasga means Jagana should be there, Sagana should be there, and Garu should be there. Here Kumar Lalita has Jagana, Sagana, and a heavy syllable. That is Kumar Lalita. Kumar Lalita. It's named as Kumar Lalita if there are Jagana and Sagana and a heavy syllable. Okay, Jagana 3 syllables, Sagana 3 syllables, 6, and if you add one more heavy syllable, then there are 7 syllables. So you have to, like in previous verse, you have to repeat this line 4 times to compose the Kumar Lalita verse, right? So yeah, so you let's check it. Ku 1 ma 2 ra 3 la 4 li 5 ta 6 taj 6 sga 7. Yeah, so there are 7 syllables. Within those 7 syllables, Kumara is Jagana, Lalitaj is Sagana, because you see light heavy, right? Light heavy, Sagana, and Sga or Ga is Garu, heavy. So there are Jagana, Sagana, and heavy syllables. So for example, there is a verse in Vuttodaya Tika, in the subcommentary of Vuttodaya. Mudu Madhura Vani Padana Dhamma Yutto Sukhi Surata Chitto Naro Nara Visitto. So here you see Mudu 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 syllables in this line. In the second line also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yut 6, 7. So there are 7 syllables in each line. And Mudu ma is Jagana, Dure va is Sagana, Ni is the heavy syllable. In the second line also, padana is jagana, dhamma yut is sagana, tho is the ending heavy syllable. Sukhisu is jagana, ratta chit is sagana, tho is the garu. Narona is jagana, ra we sit is sagana, tho is garu. So this is a good example for Kumar Lalita verse in which group? Unhi or Unhika group. Unhika Chanda. Yeah, is that clear for you?
Yes, Bante.
Yes.
So I have a question about the rules to the case where we have like a triple consonants here. So the triple consonants, then how should we divide the consonants? So how many syllables? How many? Like for example, here we have ja, sa, and ga. So should we just attribute the ja to the previous syllable, or ja, sa to the previous syllable to make it a long syllable, a long syllable? How should we divide that triple consonant?
Actually, I haven't seen this somewhere anywhere. I also have the same question, and I was aware of this question. And I always like when reading that grammar texts and text about prosody, I was searching for an answer, but I did not see anywhere for an explanation for this. But how I consider is that the first consonant comes to the previous side, and the second consonant in places like this, like there are three consonants, and there are three consonants in the conjunction. The second consonant goes to the other side, because the reason is that one consonant going to other side can be happen in examples like dui, two, right? Two, dui. So in that dui, we consider dui as short syllable, right? Short syllable. So there in dui, the vowel e, like dui is dvi, right? Dvi. So in that conjunct, vowel I belongs to vi, right? Vi. But in front, one d is there, dui. One d is there in front. One d is there in front. So we consider that d as belonging to vi, and altogether we consider dui as a short syllable. So like that, like there can be there can be a consonant in front also. So we can because of that we can consider sga as one syllable. You can consider sga as one syllable. Like j, the first consonant of the conjunct going to the previous side is the normal way, right? It is a normal way. We consider the first consonant as belonging to the previous side, because that is sangyogadi garu. We consider heavy because it is in front of a conjunct. So this j belonging to the previous side is normal, and this s belonging to the other side is also normal. Not mentioned anywhere, but it can be seen in other examples. So I considered it as it in that way, j belonging to the previous side and s belonging to the other side. And if you consider so, the pronunciation is also becomes easier. And so if someone argue, why can't we take s to the previous side like j, like Kumar Lalita, can't we take the s? Can't we take s to the previous side too? So if someone argue like that, I don't have any answer for that, because I haven't seen explanation for that, and there is no any obstacle. There is not any obstacle to take to the previous side too, as for my knowledge. So both can be done. You can take to the previous side also, and you can take to the other side, other like next syllable also. taking to the next syllable is the way I prefer.
I see. Thank you, Bante. And the other question is kind of is there a story behind the naming of these verses, Bante? So why, for example, why is it called Kumara Lalita here? It should have a meaning. Okay.
Yeah, that's a very good question. There are like actually there is not any important reason to name like this Kumar Lalita or in here like Tanumajja, any name. There is not a specific like real reason to name like that. This is just naming them in order to make them easier to be called, right? So when we name a person, we don't search for any reason to name people. We name just to make it easier to call them, to identify them, to recognize them, right? So here also such a thing is done. Just name in the verse in order to identify them easier, in order to make them identify easily. That is the reason I see. But however, in prosody, in explanations to the prosody, especially in the Vuttodaya Tika, reasons are given, like with definitions. For example, yeah, let's go to Tanumajja first. So Tanumajja, Tanu means thin, right? Thin. Majja means the middle. So middle is thin. So actually Tanumajja refers to, as I can remember well actually. As I can remember, Tanumajja refers to a woman whose middle is thin, right? A woman whose middle is thin is called as Tanumajja. So a woman whose middle is thin is she's attractive, right? So this verse is also same as a woman with the thin middle. Middle means the middle of the body, right? So that's why we called it Tanumajja. So you see, there is no there in this verse you cannot find a thin middle area, right? There are only two.
It has a sense, but so Tanu is too lahu, so it means it's kind of thin in the middle, right?
Tanu means
we have two heavy syllables at the beginning, and two heavy syllables at the end, and we have two light syllables in the middle.
Yeah,
kind of thin in the middle.
Yeah, that's a very good idea. I hadn't think about that. Yeah, it's a very good idea. So we can consider like that also. Yeah. Then the middle is thin because there are light syllables in the middle, right? In two sides there are heavy syllables. In the middle there are light syllables. So then we can consider of course. Yeah, thank you very much for saying that. So we can consider this as Anvatha, like the name Anvatha Nama, the name name having a real meaning, real sense. Tanumajja, yeah, but this was not how it was explained in the Myanmar book, as I can remember. Yeah, of course there can some names which have real meanings, and some names, however, naming is done in order to make them easier to call and identify. So here you see Kumara Lalita. Kumara means what you call a child, right? A child. Lalita. How to translate Lalita? Lalita. English word for Lalita.
It's the charm.
Charm, right? Charm. Yeah, charm. So the charm of a child is called as Kumar Lalita, right? Charm of a child. So this verse has the charm of a child. That is why this verse is called as Kumar Lalita. This is how it was explained in the Myanmar Nisaya. So you see, this is how can we find the charm of a child in this verse? We can consider this as having the charm of a child, but does it make sense actually? Other verses also have the charm of a child or of anyone. So So I think that's why Bhante Anandjoti also hasn't shown the meanings of the names. In other books, in Sri Lankan books and also in Myanmar books, meanings were given under the verse. Like why this verse is called as Kumar Lalita, why this verse is called as Tanumajja, like that. But I also consider that as not important at all, because that's the naming is done just to identify them easily and recognize them easily.
Thank you, Bhante.
Okay.
So Bande,
Yes.
so I think that, like regarding the names, maybe for their culture at that time, they're easy to understand, but for us, it's very difficult to understand, right?
Names.
Yeah,
Names,
I
right?
mean, when they made such names, I think according to their culture at that time, they're easy to
Yeah.
understand. But for us, we are foreigners even nowadays, so we are very difficult to understand why it's like this, why it's like that.
Yeah. That's very good. You elaborated that point. Yeah, then it's better to like have a mentioning about the names also, right? Yeah. Like what does this word mean? And like saying this name is given just to identify them, it is okay, but something like what is the meaning of this name, that should be there, right?
Yeah, like previously when we use like mention the numbers, like 4 oceans or something, for them it's very easy to understand, but for us it's very difficult.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yes.
And also, like the footnote, could you please go to the footnote in the same page?
Previous one. Yeah, same.
The same. So there are different readings, like a Jaska and a Jasaka. So if we take those readings, so the syllables will be different, right? It will become like 8 syllables and 9 syllables.
Yeah, so these are wrong. This should be considered as like wrong, right? Jasga or Jasaga cannot be there in the text. No, reading, I was talking about the reading, how you recite it. But really having a vowel is a problem. You cannot have a vowel like this. Then the syllable count is becomes different, right? Syllable count becomes 7. No, sorry. Here syllable count becomes 8, and here it becomes 9, right? Kumara la li ta jasa gaya. Here it becomes 9 syllables. So these both should be actually considered as wrong to be there in the text. But when you pronounce, when you recite, you can like if it is very difficult for you to recite as it is, Kumar Lalitajga, then I was telling that you can do it as Myanmar people do, with a vowel sound, but it's not good. I'm not encouraging you to do that. If it is difficult, you can do like that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Bande.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this is Kumar Lalita verse with an example. Now we are going to the 8-syllable verses. 8-syllable verses are called, the group of 8-syllable verses are called as Anuttubhang, like Anuttubha Chanda, the group of the meters, which is called as Anuttubha. This is in Myanmar text as Anuttubha in the feminine gender. Here it is in neuter gender, both are correct, Anuttubhang or Anuttubha. And yeah, that is the generic name. And the first verse of Anuttubha group is Chitrapada, right? Chitrapada yadi bhaga. The meaning is if it has 2 bhaganas and 2 heavy syllables, it is Chitrapada. Chitrapada is the name. And Bha means 2 bhaganas, Ga means 2 garu. So you can ask a question like, how can we take 2 bhaganas by Bha and 2 garus by Ga? That is the method followed in this text. Like when you see plural, you have to do 2 of them. If you see Bha in plural, you have to take 2 bhaganas. And if you see ga plural, you have to take 2 heavy syllables. That is a method which is followed here. But there is another thing also, like in ablative form also, in ablative case form also, you can see like this bha, right? Bha. If you decline bha, then you have to the declension will be like buddho, buddha, buddham, buddhe, right? So this will be like bho, bha, bhang, bhe, bhena, bhehi, bhevi, like that. So in the ablative case, it will there will be bha, bhasma, bhamha, bha, right? Bha is there. So this form is same with ablative case also, ablative form also. So this is not to be confused with ablative. But in some places in the same book, in Vuttodaya itself, the ablative form is used in some verses. So please keep that in mind. Sometimes this form, like ending with the sound a, bha or ga, this form is used as the nominative plural, and in some verses it is for ablative singular. So here in this verse there should be 2 bhaganas and 2 garu syllables. 2 bhaganas, there are 6 syllables, right? In 1 bhagana there are 3, 2 bhaganas there are 6 syllables, and when you add 2 heavy syllables at the end, there are 8 syllables. So this is an 8 syllable verse. So you say chit, 1, tra, 2, pa, 3, da, 4, ya, di, 6, bha, 7, ga, 8. There are 8 syllables. Chit, tra, pa. Chit, ra, pa is bhagana. Chit, ra, pa is bhagana, right? Heavy, light, light. And da, yadi is also bhagana, heavy, light, light. So there are 2 bhaganas. Bha is garu, ga is garu. 2 bhaganas and 2 garus are there. So this is the Chitrapada verse. There is an example for Mahapanama Patha. So sasajatiya deham chajjiya dana varangcha nagusabho varasilang purayi samparichago. So here in every word, every line you can observe there are 9 syllables in every line, and the rules are also followed. There are 2 bhaganas and 2 garus in every line, so you can observe it by yourself. I am not going to check it because time. Yeah, we have to finish this chapter today, not this section today. Yeah, any questions? Is that clear for you? No questions, right? Okay, that is the first verse of Anuttubha meter. Anuttubha Chand, the group of Anuttubha, the group which is called as Anuttubha. You see, Anuttubha in feminine is also there. Anuttubhang is there in neuter gender also. Vijumala is the next or the second verse of Anuttubha group. Vijumala. Or the thing I was going to say is that in every verse you can see these 2 points. In the previous chapter also these were there. Like you see, CHSA and VR. So CHSA refers to Chanda Shastra, right? Chanda Shastra. The CH for Chanda, SA for Shastra, and VR is for Vruttaratnakara. We say that there are 2 main prosodies in Sanskrit. The first ever prosody in Asian cultures, I think, because there should be prosodies in like Greece, Rome, and Western cultures also. In our traditions, the first ever prosody is Chanda Shastra, and then Vruttaratnakara was composed later in a later time by what's his name? Kedar Bhatt, right? Kedar Bhatt. Vruttaratnakara was composed by Kedar Bhatt, depending on Chanda Shastra. So Vuttodaya is composed by Venerable Sangarakshita, depending on Vruttaratnakara. So you can observe many similarities between Vuttodaya and those 2 Sanskrit prosodies. So you see here in Chanda Shastra, the same verse is seen as Chitrapada Bhaugau, right? Chitrapada Bhaugau, it is named as Chitrapada if there are two Bhaganas and two Garus. You see, Bhau is the, what you called, the Dvivachana. Like in Sanskrit, there are Ekavachana, Dvivachana, and yeah?
Yes, Bhante.
Yes,
Vivachana.
yeah, Dvivachana. So what is the English word we use to Dvivachana?
Just
Dual
the
form. Dual form.
Dual form, right?
Yeah, dual form.
Yeah,
Yes.
dual form, yeah. So Bhau is the dual form and Gau is also the dual form. So there should be two Bhaganas and two heavy syllables. But we do not have dual form in Pāli. So we have used plural form instead of dual form. So here it is very similar to Chanda Shastra than Vuttodaya, right? In Vuttodaya it is like Bhau Giti Chitrapada Gah. Bhau, there should be two Bhaganas, Gi, there should be one Garu, and Gah, another Garu. And then it is Chitrapada. So this is how it Vuttodaya mentions the same verse. Okay. So Vijumala is Momo Gogo Vijumala. Momo Gogo Vijumala. Vijumala is the name of the verse. Mo Magana should be there, Mo, another Magana should be there, Go Garu, and Go, another Garu. Two Maganas and two Garus. Vijumala has two Maganas and two heavy syllables. So that is it. So if we check this, Mo, Go, 4 syllables. Vijumala, 4 syllables. There are 8 syllables in this verse. Mo, Go is the first Magana. Go, Vijum is the second Magana. Ma, first Garu. La, second Garu. So 2 Maganas and 2 heavy syllables are there in this verse. Here is an example for Jinalankara. Jinalankara. Buddho loka loke jato satto konummatto suddhang buddhang ogha tinnang saddho panyo kono vande. So please check this by yourself. This is an example for Vijumala verse. Yes, any questions?
So Bhante, like
Yes.
the Alutupang group,
Yes.
if this group compare with other groups in the literature, so this group is very common or not?
This group is actually not common. You cannot find examples in Pāli Canon and commentaries, sub-commentaries for verses from this group. But one thing is there, that is there are 8 syllable verses in Visamavutthi also, right? Visamavutthi in the 5th chapter, I said that in the 5th chapter all the verses are 8 syllable verses. 8 syllable verses. So in traditionally we include, like we insert the whole Visamavutthi chapter in this group, right? Because in Visamavutthi chapter, in the 5th chapter, all the verses have 8 syllables in each line. So here Anuttubha is the group of verses which have 8 syllables in each line. But there is a problem. Still there is a problem, because Anuttubha is like Samavutthi, right? Similar lines should be there, but that is Visamavutthi. There are no similar lines. Like it is dissimilar lines. However, because the syllable count is same, in Anuttubha there are 8 syllables. In Visamavutthi verses like Pathya and Pathyavata and so on, those verses also have 8 syllables. So we insert the whole chapter in this Anuttubha. Then in that way we can say the Anuttubha verses are the most common ones. They are the most common ones, right?
I say because in Sanskrit we call this group as Arushtup. So Arushtup in Sanskrit is a very common verse. So many places use that group. So that's why I'm thinking about the Pāli.
I see. Yeah, of course. In our tradition also, we consider all the verses, all the 8 syllable verses as Anuttubha. So you are correct. Yeah, we can consider this group as the most common one, but in that way, right? Not the verses in Samavutthi Niddesa, but when we consider the Visamavutthi as included in Anuttubha. Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Bande.
Okay. Okay, that is Vijitānandābhivaṃsa
So,
verse. Yes, yes,
so Bante, may I
Yes.
ask question?
of course.
Yeah. So is Vichumala, it's Magana is two Maganas group.
Yes,
Must be six
Yes.
syllable and 12 measures, right?
yes,
Yeah, but in Aryagana, it's Magana is just two. So
Yes.
in the Vijumala, six measures for this. So what is purpose in this Gana, in this chapter, to distinguish another chapter or for another purpose?
What is the purpose of? Actually, I did not get your question.
Yeah, it's, I mean, in Aryagana, Magana is just for two syllables,
Yes, yes,
two syllables, but in Vichumala, it's just, it's have
Three
three syllables. Yeah,
yes.
three.
What is the purpose of that,
syllables
right?
for distinguish, to distinguish another's, yeah, to distinguish Aryagana or another one.
Actually, this is the normal way. These are the normal groups. Magana should have three syllables. Like all the groups, all the groups have three syllables in them. That is the normal way. But what was done is that in Mattavutti Niddesa, in the previous chapter, like how to say that? We have to say that those are two different types of verses, right? Like Vannavutti and Mattavutti are completely two different types of verses. So how we consider the formation of groups are also different in those two types, right? So in this Vannavutti verses, we consider groups as having three syllables, and in Mattavutti, we consider them as having four measures. So that is it. Actually, I don't know any other reason to consider them as that. Just we consider them as two different types of verses, and then that groups are also how we form the group. The formation of the groups are also different in those two types. Any other special reason is not known, not actually mentioned anywhere. Why in there can be actually there should be. And if you have time, please focus on that and think what can be the reason for the for considering groups as having four measures in the previous chapter. Until now, I haven't seen it anywhere. Any explanation for that?
Yeah, thank you, Bante.
Okay, so that was your question, right? That was what you're asking, right? That is how I understood it.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, Bante.
Yes.
Yes. Vichumala had two Magana and two heavy syllables. But more it should be plural. But why they use the momo vovo, Bante?
Because if you use like maga,
yes.
Yes, what will happen is there is space like there are two more syllables are needed, right? Because there should be 8 syllables in this verse. So if you just use maga with Jummahala, then there will be only 6 syllables. So
Yes.
right. So that is why momo gogo is done here. It's actually correct. You can use maga, but then that problem arises.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Vijumala. And the third verse in the Anuttubha is Manavaka. Bha Talaga Mana. Oh, another thing was there. I forgot to mention that. So here, it is mentioned by Bhante Sangara, Anand Jyoti. Although the prosodies do not mention it, there is also a decided preference for a word break after 4 syllables, which is noticeable in the text themselves. That means word break is not mentioned here, right? Yati is not mentioned here. So it seems like no yati in this verse. No yati in this verse. But there is a consideration, some consider that there should be yati, there should be word break in this verse too. And as Bhante Anand Jyoti says, in examples also, the verse is written so that word break can be done after 4 syllables, like momo go go vijumala, like that. After 4 syllables, the word break can be there. It is not actually mentioned in prosodies, not in Pāļi prosody or not in Sanskrit prosody. So here also you can observe that buddho loka loke loke jato satto konum matto, right? Word break can be easily done, like it seems like having the word break, but in rules, in prosodies, it is not mentioned. That is an extra point. It is just how they consider that. Manavaka bhat, yes.
Sorry, Bhante. How do we know in the ending syllable we consider sometimes the heavy syllable, sometimes the light syllable, Bhante?
Yes.
How do we know in the stanza? Sometimes we take the ending syllable, ending vowel as the heavy syllable or light syllable, Bhante. For example, Vitumala, he stood the heavy syllable, but here takes the he heavy syllable. Oh, sorry.
It's your question is clear. Like the ending syllable, if we put a light syllable there and if we consider it as heavy, right? Yes, it can be done. Yeah, correct. That's a good question. Yeah, it can be done. You can just keep a light syllable there and you can consider it as heavy. Then that is still garu, heavy.
Yes,
yeah. Okay. Bhatalaga manavakang. Manavaka has after bhagana, thagana, a light syllable and a heavy syllable. After bhagana, there should be tagana, lahu, garu, right? So bha after bhagana. This is an example for what I mentioned earlier. Like it can. This is the ablative form, not plural form. Bha does not refer to 2 bhaganas. It refers to the ablative form of the bho, right? Bha after bhagana, not 2 bhaganas, after bhagana. After bhagana, tagana, lahu, garu should be there. Then it is called as manavakang. It's called as manavaka verse. So this we are still in 8 syllable verses. So let's check for the groups. Bhatala, it is the bhagana, right? Bhatala is the bhagana. Then gamana is the tagana. Gamana is the tagana. Va is the lahu and kang is garu. So bhagana, tagana, lahu, garu are there. Bhagana 3 syllables, tagana 3 syllables, lahu, garu 2 syllables, all together 8 syllables are there. So example from Vuttodaya Tika. Yo satatang santa mano sasi puno vadarato tassa mano chapalato manavakang kelitakang. So that is the example for manavaka verse. Yeah. Any questions?
Yes, Bhante.
Yes.
So, I mean, why don't the certainly is composed by Bhante Sankarakita. So why didn't he do the bo talaga instead to make it easier to not to confuse with the ba and ba? Right? I mean, he could do bo talaga, right?
Of course.
Yes.
Yeah. Both are. Yeah, now it's confusing, right? Plural and ablative form.
So instead
Yeah,
of
of
saying
course.
after Bhagana, we can say that there are Bhagana and then Ta, Laga, right?
Yeah. You
Anyway,
see in Sanskrit also that is done like that. That maybe that is the reason. You see in Vruttaratnakara,
yeah,
Manavakam Bhat Talaga.
yes,
So
yeah,
maybe he's
yeah, he's just following that. Yeah.
following that.
Okay, thank you, Bante.
Okay. So now it is the Samanika verse, still in Anutubha, Samanika verse. Gla Samanika Rajacha. Gla Samanika Rajacha. Samanika has a heavy syllable, a light syllable, Ragana and Jagana. Heavy, light, Ragana, Jagana. 8 syllables, right? Heavy, light, 2, Ragana, Jagana, 6, altogether 8 syllables. So that is called as Samanika. The name is Samanika. Gla is Garu, right? Sa is Lahu. This is the heavy and light syllables. Then there should be Ragana and Jagana, right? Manika. Manika is Ragana. Rajacha is Jagana. Rajacha is Jagana. So heavy, light, and Ragana, Jagana are there. So here cha is light, and we in the usual way we should consider this as heavy, but here we do not consider this as heavy. If we consider this as heavy, like Padanta Garu, then this is not a Jagan. This is not a Jagan. This is Yagana, right? If we consider this as Garu, this becomes Yagana. But we do not consider that as Garu, because we need Jagana here. We need Jagana here. So always we should keep a light syllable at the end of this verse. So it is also mentioned here in Bhante's explanation. This is one of the few meters that is defined as having a light syllable at the end. One of the few meters that is defined as having a light syllable at the end of the line. There are some other examples also in Achala Dhiti verse, what we met in the previous chapter, Achala Dhiti, and Ubhasika, Vutta verse, and Yavamati. All these examples, the ending syllable should be light. Whereas the normal rule in verse 5 in the first chapter states that the end syllable is usually to be considered heavy. This is the normal way, but here in such examples, the ending syllable can be light too. So this is an example from Mahapanama Patha. Paramiti Dukkarava Puri Yana Setta Bodhi Papunita Yoananta Dhammasara Dang Namami. So this is example for Samanika verse. So you can observe that all the ending syllables are light, not heavy. Yeah, are there any questions?
Yes, Bante, just a short question in the example. So what
Yes.
is that wa, Bante? What is that word? What does it mean? Wa?
It's eva, right? Eva. Dukkara eva. They are, of course, like they are indeed. Parami ati dukkara eva.
Oh, so there should not be a space in between those two words then.
Yes, that is a combination. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Bante.
Okay. Then Pamanika, yeah, moving to Pamanika. Pamanika jara laga. Pamanika jara laga. Pamanika is the verse which have jara, jagana ragana, and laga, lahu garu. Okay. That is the meaning. So Pamani is the jagana, right? Pamani jagana. Kajara is ragana. Kajara is ragana. La is lahu. Ga is garu. So this is Pamanika verse. An example is there from Vinaya Vinichaya. Vinaya Vinichaya. So this is a you see, this is a like a real text, right? This is not a commentary or something from Vuttodaya. Give me a second. Okay, so like this is not a commentary or some explanation or something which follows Vuttodaya. This is a real Vinaya text, Vinaya Vinichaya. But this is also written after Vuttodaya, after Pāli Prasadi was written. So yeah, example is Adubbale tu chivare sudubbalanti chetasa ubhosu kankitaya va avocha dukkatang jino. Yeah, this is the example for Amanika verse. Is that clear for you? Yes, right. It's very clear. Then yeah, here ends the 8-syllable verses. Anuttubha ends here. So now we are moving to the group which have verses with 9 syllables. Brahati. Brahati is the generic name of that group. Brahati Chanda. Brahati Chanda. So Chanda, or the generic name is Brahati, and the first verse in this in that group is Halamukhi. Halamukhi. Ra Nasa Yadi Halamukhi. If after Ragana there is Nagana and Sagana, it is Halamukhi. So there should be Ra, Ragana. After Ragana, there should be Nagana and Sagana, right? Ragana, Nagana, Sagana. So in each group there are 3 syllables, 3, 6, 9. So altogether there are 9 syllables. Ra, Na, Sa is Ragana, right? It's Ragana. And then Yadi, Ha. Yadi, Ha is Nagana. And then La, Mukhi is Sagana. So there are Ragana, Nagana, and Sagana in order. So here also, as Dr. Ryan mentioned before, this should be kept as Ro, like Ro Nasahayadi Halamukhi. That is also correct. But here also we can observe that the author has followed Vuttaratnakara. Vuttaratnakara, it's Ran Nasaviha Halamukhi. Right? So the reason is that in Vuttaratnakara it's in that form. Yeah, so an example is there from Vuttodaya Tika. Vuttodaya Tika. Uttama gamayati ayang majjago dalina tilako kesaro sakala bhuano samaka kalu yuvatisu. That is the example for Halamukhi verse. Are there any questions? No questions, right? Yeah, then we are moving to Bhujaga Susu Bhata. Bhujaga Susu Bhata is the second verse of Brahati group, 9-syllable group. Bhujaga Susu Bhata, actually this is in the Myanmar text, this is Bhujaga Susu Sata. Bhujaga Susu Sata, here also S is there instead of BH. So Bhujaga Susu Sata, so both should be correct, these are just names. Bhujaga Susu Sata. Bhujaga Shishu Srata. So here you see in Chanda Shastra it is Bhujaga Shishu Srata. Sra is there. But in Vuttaratnakara it is Bhujaga Shishu Brata. So yeah, both should be correct, right? According to Chanda Shastra, this should be Bhujaga Susu Sata, and according to Vuttaratnakara it is Bhujaga Susu Bhata. Bhujaga Susu Bhata Namo. Bhujaga Susu Bhata Namo. If there are 2 na groups and 1 ma group, you see here also plural is used for 2 na groups and 1 ma group, na mo, then it is named as Bhujaga Susu Bhata. 2 na groups and 1 ma group. Bhujaga Susu Bhata has 2 naganas and 1 magana. So let's check it. Bhujaga is nagana, Susubha again nagana, and then ta na mo is magana. After 2 naganas, magana is there. Example is from Namakara Pāļi. Nayana subhaga ka yangang madhura vara sarupetang amita guna ganadharam dasabala matulang vande. So those who have studied in Pauk know this verse. This is daily recited in Pauk because it is included in Namakara Pāļi. So are there any questions? Okay, so here is the 9-syllable verse. There are only 2 examples. No, sorry, not examples. There are only 2 verses in 9-syllable verses in Vuttodaya. But in Vuttaratnakara and Chanda Shastra, there can be more. But in Vuttodaya, we have only 2 verses in 9-syllable verses. So something to say here is that if you compose a verse with 9 syllables, which has like some other groups, maybe Yagana, Tagana, and Nagana, right? Let's say it's not mentioned in Vuttodaya, but you compose a verse with Yagana, Tagana, and Nagana. Someone cannot say that this is incorrect. This shouldn't be done because it's just a verse, right? There are 9 syllables and there are three groups with inside that. So that is not something which cannot be done. That is not something completely incorrect, but you cannot, like when you are following like Pāli prosody or Sanskrit prosody, you are composing according to them. We are not composing ones which are not included in those rules. If you compose one, then someone cannot say that this is not a verse. It is a verse, but it is wrong. It is wrong according to the tradition, according to the rules which are given in the prosodies, right? So in our Pāli tradition also, there are some verses which are not included in Vuttodaya, which you cannot find in Vuttodaya. Completely different verses are there. So you cannot say that those are correct because you cannot find them in Vuttodaya. They are correct, of course, but probably those verses, I don't have such a knowledge to say something exactly about that, but probably they are written according to the Sanskrit prosody, not just their own ideas, or not just their own rules. They should be following the Sanskrit prosody. That's why we cannot find them in Vuttodaya, but there are so many examples in our Pāli texts. Okay, so what I assume is that they are the authors of those verses are following Sanskrit prosody. That can also be done. You can follow Sanskrit prosody and compose a Pāli verse. If you do that, that is not incorrect. It's correct, of course. Okay.
So Bande.
Yes.
That means if we want to be expert in the Pāli prosody, so we have to master the prosody in Sanskrit, right?
Yeah, of course. If you want to be an expert, then you have to do that. That's
Okay,
same with the
thank you.
language also, right? Like
Yes.
we learn Pāli, but if you do not have any knowledge about Sanskrit, your Pāli knowledge is poor, right? Yeah.
But Bande, is there any Pāli author or Pāli the monk scholars in the ancient time? Do they compose the like this type of text based on Pāli literature?
Based on Pāli literature?
Yes, not based on the Sanskrit prosody.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I mean, like when we learn this, like Vuttodaya, so they are based on the Sanskrit prosody. I mean, is there any pure Pāli prosody?
No, not at all. This is the one and only prosody in Pāli. And maybe all later scholars consider this as a very good work. That's why they did not compose another prosody in Pāli. You see in Vinaya, Abhidhamma, and Sutra, and all other, of course, in grammar also, new texts have been done in a later time. Like after Kachayana, Moggallana was done, and then Saddhaniti was done. But for prosody, not a single work has been done after this Vuttodaya. So probably the reason is that this is a very good work by Venerable Sangharakkhita. So yeah, let's move to Panti because we don't have any questions and we have 5 minutes remaining. Panti is 10 syllable verses. 10 syllable verses. So Panti is the generic name. It's the name of the group. We call it in Pāli Panti Chanda. Panti Chanda. So the first verse in Panti is Suddha Viraja. Suddha Viraja. Msāchka Suddha Virajitang. Suddha Virajidang Matang. Msa. For Myanmar friends, actually, this is also difficult to pronounce. Msa, they pronounce as Masa. Masa Jaga. So please try to pronounce that Msachga. Msachga, right? Msach, then Ga. Msachga Suddha Virajikam Matang. Matang, it's known as Suddha Virajidda. Suddha Viraja, sorry. Suddha Viraja. Suddha Viraja Idang, right? Suddha Viraja Idang Matang. Idang, this verse is known as Suddha Viraja. The name is Suddha Viraja. But according to the Myanmar version, it is Suddha Virajitang Matang. Suddha Virajitang Matang. Here instead of D, it is T. T. Okay. Suddha Virajitang Matang. So the name of the verse is Suddha Virajita. Suddha Virajita. So according to this text, this book, it is Suddha Viraja, not Suddha Virajita. Suddha Virajita. In Sanskrit also it is Suddha Viraj. Suddha Virad. Saujgav. Suddha Virad is the name according to Chanda Shastra. Suddha Viradida according to Vuttodaya. However, yeah, there are such differences. So there should be Magana, Sagana, and Jagana, then Garu. Magana, Sagana, Jagana, Garu. You can observe that there are 10 syllables, right? Magana 3, Sagana 3, Jagana 3, and then Garu. Altogether 10 syllables are there. So let's check it. Msaj is one Garu, right? Msaj. Then Ga, 2 Garus. Sud is also heavy, right? So Msaj, Ga, Sud is the Magana. Very low Magana, right? Msaj, Ga, Sud is Magana. Msaj, 1 heavy syllable, Ga, 1 heavy syllable, Sud, 1 heavy syllable. So this is the Magana. And then comes the Sagana. The Vira is the Sagana. Jidang ma is the Jagana. And then Tang is the Garu. So Magana, Sagana, Jagana, and Garu is there. Yeah. So example is taken from Namakkara Pāli. Yo buddho dhiti manya dharako sansare anubhosi kājikam dukkhaṃ cetasikanca lokato tang vande naradeva mangala. So you can check it by yourself. Are there any questions? No questions, right? Then we are moving to the next one. Yeah, here this is good example of a straight transliteration from Sanskrit. You see, in Sanskrit Vuttodaya, the verse is like Msauj Gau Suddha Virajidang Matang. So in Pāli we have Msajka Suddha Virajidang Matang. You see, very similar Sanskrit and Pāli. So this is a good example for a straight transliteration from Sanskrit. The second verse is Panava. Na yogo yadi panavo kyato. Na yogo yadi panavo kyato. Panavo kyato should be disjoined as Panavo akyato. It's declared as Panava. The name is Panava. So akyato, it's declared as Panava. Yadi, if there is na, magana, and nagana, then yo, yagana, then garu. Magana, nagana, yagana, garu is declared as verse Panava. So na is garu, yo garu, go garu. This is a magana. Yadi pa is the nagana. Na wo kya is the yagana, and to is the heavy syllable. So this is the Panava verse, and there is an example from Vuttodaya Tika. Nisankho bhava khalu da danto bhating bhapaya marane samma jati sangtava parisuddha vo Sīlādihi gunadharo sattha. This is the example for Panava. Yeah, then the next verse is Rummavati. Sorry, do you have any questions about Panava? No questions, right? Very clear. Yeah, then Rummavati. Bhuma sagayutta Rummavati sa. This is also difficult to read. Bhuma, right? Bhuma, and then ma. This is a consonant without vowel. Bhuma sagayutta Rummavati sa. So Burmese friends read this as Bhama, Bh, or Bhama, Bhama, with a vowel sound. Bhama sagayutta Rummavati sa. So sa, that verse is called as Rummavati if there is Bhagana, Magana, and then Sagana Garu. Bhagana, Magana, Sagana Garu is Rummavati. Yutta if it is combined with Bhagana, Magana, Sagana, and Garu. So here is next. Sorry, let's check it. Bhuma is Garu, right? Bhuma Garu, Saga Lahu Lahu. Then this is the Bhagana. Bhuma Saga is the Bhagana. Yutta Rum is the Magana. Then Ma Va Ti is the Sagana. Sa is the heavy syllable. This is an example for it from Mahapanama Patha. Mahapanama Patha. Karuniko Rajayataneo Bhoja Mularang Bhojja Rasekang Vasa Makananta Makanantagunadharo Ekagato Vandami Mahesi. Vandami Mahesing, I think it should be. However, this is the example for Rummavati verse. Rummavati verse. Yeah. Then we have to go to Matta, but let's wind up the class for today because I have another class at 8:30, so I have to prepare for that. Okay, are there any questions? No questions, right? Then let's wind up the class by reciting Buddha Sasanam Chirang Titthatu. Buddha Sasanam Chirang Titthatu. Buddha Sasanam Chirang Titthatu. Buddha Sasanam Chirang Titthatu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you all for participating.
Yeah,
Thank you,
sadhu,
Bante.
sadhu.
Sadhu,
Thank
sadhu.
you, Bante.